Very warm welcome to you, Nidhi, in conversation with us today, Goodera, for our campaign for Financial Literacy Month. It is our absolute honor to have you and your nonprofit NASSCOM Foundation today with us. Thank you so much for taking out your time to have this conversation with us. First, tell me, how are you, Nidhi?
Hi, thank you for that warm welcome. And also, another big thank you for inviting me to have this conversation on behalf of NASSCOM Foundation, because I think financial literacy is a very, very important conversation today. I think it's more important than literacy. And I think it's a pleasure to be a part of this conversation. And my day is going very well and enjoying the heat of Delhi, but very well. Thank you.
We have been following you, your journey, and your foundation, NASSCOM Foundation, the amazing work that you guys have been doing, and as you say, transforming India bit by bit. But
I think I've been working in the social development sector for about 22 years now, probably more than that. And very early in my life, I decided that I want to make a difference in this country and my bit out here. And that's why I decided to work in the nonprofit space. And last 20 years, 22 years, I have spent a lot of time in terms of programs, monitoring, resource mobilization, a lot of operations work, leading organizations. And I joined NASSCOM Foundation around a year ago as the CEO. And I think it's been an amazing, I enjoyed the first 22 years of my work life, but the last 1 year has been, super, super, super great. And NASSCOM Foundation is also, I think, we are about 20-year-old organization, and we're a part of the NASSCOM ecosystem. Very proudly, I can say that we work very, very strongly and kind of represent the tech industry. And our whole agenda out here is to basically work for tech for good. So any kind of technology which has a social impact is what we work on. In the last 20 years, we have worked a lot in across the country. Digital literacy has been one of our most powerful programs. Uh, Moving forward, I think we are focusing more and more towards tech for good. And our whole idea is to go more semi-urban, rural, aspirational districts, and also kind of focus a lot on marginalized women, skilling the youth and women, especially in STEM, and of course, scaling up on the whole digital literacy thing, which includes the financial literacy part.
wow, that is inspiring to summit, because we need such more such voices in our today's country, in our today's time. And thank you so much for that lovely introduction. So, keeping in mind the theme of today's conversation, which is Financial Literacy Month, I want to start with the first and the most basic question. I want to hear your response, because the responses that I am getting from other nonprofits, it has been amazing. So I want to ask you why financial literacy is important, and how can we implement financial knowledge in our lives, and what changes it might bring after we do so.
Okay. So I think as a country, we take pride in the fact that we have about 75% as a literacy rate. But unfortunately, I think according to the latest data, I think the financial literacy rate is only 27%. So there's a huge gap out here. Compared to that, the advanced economies have the financial literacy rate of 70 to 80%. And again, unfortunately, some of the states has as low as 10%. So this whole gap and the fact that only 27% of our country is financially literate is extremely alarming. And we, this is something that we need to address now and not sometime in future, because I do believe that financial literacy is a doorway to effective human capital formation. Now, if you look at financial literacy, it definitely has a lot of impact at a micro level. At an individual level, when you look at maybe credit management, when you look at investments, budgeting, all of that. But it has a far bigger impact also at the macro level. because if more and more people are going to be financially literate, it would mean that we'll be able to bridge the gap between our wealth management and economic growth. And again, one very important part of financial literacy is women. Any kind of a development is incomplete unless it's inclusive. And when we say inclusive, who do we really need to include out here? The women. And I think if you look at the data again, if we are saying 27% of the country is financially literate, we know that the women within that is a lower part of the whole 27%. And if you look at again the advanced countries, they all are focusing on at least women being equally digitally literate, and that is the reason they're growing. So unless we focus on that and we make sure that women are empowered, because see, it's not only about giving them decision making ability in their own households, but that ability also makes them more stronger, more empowered people in the economy, which means that more women will participate in the economy, which further means that our country will progress at a different scale and speed then. So again, keeping that as a focus, it's very, very important to make this whole digital literacy and financial literacy part as very, very inclusive. Um, Now, if you look at what happens if people are not financially literate, so what does financial illiteracy do? We for years have been hearing this about the money lenders, the borrowing habits. You're encouraging more and more people to get into that trap, and unless we are able to make more people digitally literate and financially literate, more and more people will get into that trap, which will lead to many other issues. So financial illiteracy places, pressure on households, hinders community growth, and eventually has implications for the government. So somewhere, if you're able to ensure that the majority of our 1.3 billion population is financially literate, and it's an effective human capital formation. Unless we ensure all of that happens, we are talking about a 1 trillion digital economy by 2025-26. None of that will be possible unless our population, at least 80 to 90%, is digitally and financially literate out here. And so that's what I feel, and that's what NASSCOM Foundation feels, that why there has to be a focus on both digital literacy and financial literacy, because one is not independent of the other. Because if you look at the scenario right now, more and more the financial literacy is also becoming about being digitally literate. So these two have to work together. Only then we'll be able to have an effective impact out here.
Yes, even I agree with what you have just said. Being financial literate not only empowers us individually, but overall, there we will be able to see an overall development of the entire country. Yes, definitely. So now this brings to my next question: how are you guys working for this cause? How are you? What are some of the sessions, or what are some of your schemes, or anything that you are taking up to literate the society financially and digitally?
Sure. So as I mentioned to you earlier, that we've been working in the area of digital literacy for I think almost 20 years now. But we are aligning ourselves to the government of India's program on National Digital Literacy Mission. And so when I'm talking about financial literacy, I'm again and again using the word digital literacy, because I feel what I said earlier, these two are connected and interlinked. From a focus from a digital literacy point of view, we have been running a lot of programs, and while initially a lot of these programs were in the urban areas, more and more focus is now going towards rural areas, aspirational districts. Our whole focus is in the next 4 to 5 years, we should be working in each and every state across the country, supporting the government's agenda of making the country a digital nation. And one of the things that we have out here is a platform called DigiSakshar. So this is the initiative supported by Vodafone Idea Foundation, and we've created a platform which is basically has a lot of content on digital literacy, but a major part of that content is on financial literacy. It covers up the basic concepts of financial literacy, and it equips every individual in terms of how to use basic things like in concepts of expenses, saving, basics of borrowing, wallets, how to kind of use e-wallets and all of that. So most of our content covers that. Besides that, in the last 1 year, we're also focusing a lot on women entrepreneurship program, and we are working with almost 20,000 women farmers across the country. And a very important part of this entrepreneurship training is financial literacy. We are saying that there are India is full of entrepreneurs, okay, like whether you call them farmers or they're artisans. And very important part is that they are doing their job in terms of what they know in terms of their background or culturally or from what they've learned from the family, but they have no idea how to scale this up. And financial literacy is very, very important in that process. So most of as I mentioned to you that we've started this last year, we have already trained in one of our programs 1,200 master trainers who have already trained another 10,000 women farmers who will be further training other women. And again, financial literacy is one of the key components out here. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of years, we'll be able to see the impact of this kind of training, digital literacy, and financial literacy. Similarly, for many other women entrepreneur programs, like we're running another one in Madhya Pradesh with women artisans, where again, financial literacy is a very, very important part of it. So, what we are saying is that while we are working on skilling or we are working on entrepreneurship, both digital literacy and financial literacy is an integral part of overall project that we do.
Great, amazing work. Uh, you have rightly said the financial literacy and empowering women or women entrepreneur goes hand in hand. You have to have some sort of financial knowledge in order to scale up your own business. That actually right, and the amount of work that you guys have been doing, it's incredible, I must say. and and yes, that day even I want to say one instance. Like, I went to a mutual fund for my mother. I want her to start one mutual fund, and there I met one guy, and he said, you are doing a great job starting this at such a young age. I started so late. Yes, and I was really shocked to hear this from an unknown person. And he was aged something like 41 or 45, something like that. So here I want to know about the changing landscape of digital financial literacy in India. How was it before and how is it now? What are the changes? What are the positive changes? What are the negative
Sure. So before I answer that one, since you gave the example, and we spoke about it earlier also. So I think 23, according to a Global Findex report of 2017, 23% of women in India still lack formal financial services, and 55% don't even use a proper bank account. And so this actually mutual funds investments comes much after. The basic is still not there. Some things that we take for granted is still missing in most women in the country. Yeah. So the changing landscape. The 20th century was the century for literacy. Everybody was talking about literacy. 21st century is all about digital and financial literacy, and that is what the change is, the focus is. And if you look at all the government of India and the four financial sector regulatory bodies, everybody like RBI, SEBI, everybody is talking about emphasis on financial literacy. That why is it important? Why is financial literacy need to be inclusive of empowering the people, because without it any kind of empowerment is incomplete. So there's a lot of focus that's happening out here. And in terms of the kind of apps which are coming, the kind of platforms that are coming, and how using stuff like UPI and all have become so easy, this definitely shows that how the overall concept of financial literacy, the need for financial literacy is changing, especially in the last couple of years. COVID has, of course, been a big factor in accelerating this change, because a lot of us adopted to a lot of digital financial services because of this change. And also the accessibility in terms of cheaper data, internet available, also a lot of options where you can do certain kind of transactions without the internet if you have a GSM. Uh, so these are things which are actually showing that how financial literacy is becoming the major deciding factor in our overall growth of the country, and how it will impact the overall, the growth story of India. And what I said earlier also was in terms of understanding online banking, online lending, digital payments. More and more people are getting used to that, getting more comfortable to it. And it's all about accessibility, because everything is becoming more accessible. um, that is the reason you can see that a lot of people are able to use more banking services, more facilities.
Exactly. I think everyone is trying their hard. Everyone is trying very hard to make this financial literacy, digital literacy accessible to everyone. And even after that, if people are not assessing this opportunity, then I don't think I don't think there's anybody else can help them, to lead a better life or a better way of living. Yeah, I too hope people access these opportunities, access these new scope of learning as soon as possible, and everyone becomes empowered financially and digitally. And now I want to ask you, if anyone who wants to work for this cause via your organization, how would they authentically work for this cause? Tell me about some activities or some form of schemes or anything via which they can contribute towards this cause.
So different options for different people. If it's a corporate, definitely, we work with on the CSR budgets, the CSR partners with various corporates. Most of our programs are supported by one corporate to the other. That's definitely one part of it. But along with that, the second part is the employee engagement. So any kind of financial literacy or digital literacy means that you need a lot of manpower for training and awareness generation. That is where we can have a lot of institutions and corporates kind of volunteering their time to kind of train, whether it is in the rural area or it is through a virtual platform. Uh, so one is that you give money and funds to kind of support the project, but the other is you give your time and effort to train the people and spread awareness. And so we have a lot of volunteering initiatives, and we do involve a lot of corporates into this. In fact, individuals too, in case they want to. Third is, of course, come and work with us. We are a growing organization, and we are looking at some people who are passionate. What we are looking at is not the skills. What we are looking at is the passion. So if you are passionate, and you have the right attitude, we have a lot of openings and come and work with us. And if you are an individual, uh, please feel free to, people can just come and approach us and tell us what they want to do. But as in terms of, we prefer to work on systematic long-term programs, and would look at any kind of partnership, whether it is with government, it is with institutions, or it is with corporates, or it could be with colleges, where we can, or schools, where we can actually partner with them to work on our agenda.
Okay. I hope after listening to this conversation, people come forward and give their best and work for you guys as well.
Yeah, I can actually add to that by saying, one is about coming and working with us, but it is also about what will really help. You said authentic. So what we really need is, what can really help is technology. And when we are also looking at something, we are looking at technology which can be used in the local language. So, any platform that people can use, making more accessibility features out here, which is probably, whoever is looking at inventing new ideas and innovations and platforms, the needs to actually have assistive technology, which could be probably with, from a point of view, voice communication, and not everything which is only a literate person can understand. Also, the other way that people can contribute is, doing more workshops, more awarenesses, also kind of initiating more learning in the communities.
So these are absolutely awesome, and I hope people, as I already said, people listen to this and come up with a genuine reason to be a part of your foundation. And with this, we come to an end to our conversation. It was a lovely conversation, I must say. I learned a lot about what financially it's happening in India and in our uh, the most integral part of villages, the urban cities and all. And it was really a wonderful time talking with you. But before that, I want you to give one message to all the potential volunteers out there who are willing to give their time and effort to this cause, telling them that their bare minimum effort and contribution can bring a life changing impact.
Thank you. Firstly, yes, it was a pleasure to speak to you. So thank you for this opportunity once again. As far as the message goes, what I said earlier, the passion matters, the attitude matters. So if you have a very, very busy schedule, if you want to take out some time and say that, whether it is could be your guard, it could be your house help, it could be your driver, or you want to go in a community and volunteer time on a regular basis, whatever you do, do it with a commitment. Don't do it just because somebody else is doing it. Do it because you feel that it's the thing to do, and you want to do it. So your contribution, even if you make one more person financially and digitally literate, it will go a very, very in a long way, especially if you have women around you. We always say that you educate a woman, you educate a full family. So if you make a woman financially literate, you are making a whole family financially literate. So please, do it with the right attitude, do it as a commitment, and support anybody that you can. Thank you so much.